Hi there, you're with English Coach, and today I'm here to present an idea that is not so new. I think it is quite an old idea, perhaps as old as philosophy itself. But the idea is that morality cannot exist without ambition. And a lot of people will listen to this phrase, morality cannot exist without ambition, and either chuckle or vomit or have some kind of physical reaction to that, sort of against the idea or the notion that that could be true. And when we're talking in general terms, general vocabulary, it sounds extremely difficult, especially when we look at the word ambition, or we connect the word ambition to things like greed. And I'm not really here to talk about greed today. Greed could be connected in many ways to ambition. It's probably quite relevant for me to make another separate video about that, either to clarify or to expand upon that. But today we're focusing on ambition, and here looking at the world as a world full of companies and people doing some of the same things, doing different things, competing, competing with themselves. And, we have the most interesting or the most exciting spectacles are usually based on some form of competition or some form of greatness that the individual can produce by themselves. And one person positioned it like this, positioned the words like this: life can be a beautiful war. That means not in terms of ourselves dying, but some of our dreams dying and others coming up and um, being raised up. Some of our dreams dying and others being raised up. And I like that. I like the idea that we are in a constant struggle to find what we are best at and to find where we are strongest, and then promoting those strengths and improving those strengths. So let's go to the premise of my video today, and it's very simple. The idea or the core of my message today is very simple, and it goes like this: you must fight for something. If you're not fighting for anything, you're not creating the sort of environments or the sort of life where you need to question anything. Okay, money comes into this. It does really come into this because if we have ambition, it means that we're going to have to study something, we're going to have to invest in something, we're going to have to pay for something, we're going to have to build something, and therefore we're going to need money. So money comes into it, and it's a basic necessity of any big plan, you know. When I talk about ambition, I am talking about long term ambition. That means that the plan that you're following now is for something in the future, maybe 2, 3, or more years into the future. And the measures taken in the present must be congruent to that idea. So whether you want to own your own company or buy one specific car or something else, everything that you're doing is being honed or being aimed at that one thing. Um, One of the things that I wanted to dissuade some of you from thinking right now is that um, when we're talking about ambition, honesty could be part of the ambition. Say, oh, hang on, we know a lot of ambitious people that are dishonest. Well, again, I'll take you back to the disclaimer that I put in there at the beginning of the video, which was relate that more to greed. When we're talking about ambition, we're talking about the long term. So therefore, I think the best example to drop here would be the politician example. And I let's say I want to be a politician and I have the opportunity to commit some kind of corruption early on in my career, but this stops me from being able to get to the next level in my career. Okay, um, because it gets exposed by a reporter, and I lose the ability to reach my ambition because of my short sightedness and because of my need for short term gain. So that short term gain was more important to me than the ambition. So they're almost the opposite. It's almost the opposite. Short term gain and ambition. Ambition is something in the future that will generate a lot more money or acclaim or appeal or influence. And short term gain is something that I give or I sacrifice something in the present. I get that thing and I run away and pretend that I'm going to, uh, live a perfect life or drive into the sunset and everything's going to be fine. Of course, which it never is, because short term gain is poor thinking and ambitious thinking is rich thinking. So let's get down to it. What does this have to do with morality and ethics? How would this have anything to do with morality, you say? Like, what does this have to do with um, doing good things or understanding the difference between what is good and what is bad? And I think a lot of it has to do with theory and practice, because most human beings, having gone through some kind of schooling system, have an idea of what ethics are and what morals are. The problem is they're never in a position to test those things out. When you live an ambitious life and you have big goals and big dreams to follow, you are forced into positions and situations where you're tested. And these things test the person or the person's morals and ethics in a real way, taking the morality from something more theoretical to something practical. And then you can see if the person makes the right decision that doesn't ruin a relationship that is key for their ambition or to their ambition, or doesn't generate some kind of negative gossip that could destroy their ambition. They make the right choice, for example, and they contribute something toward their ambition. Of course, there's going to be exceptions where being forced to be honest in one case or another may spoil your ambition. But in an idealistic, in the ideal situation, honesty will be driving your ambition and not killing it. And so that's why we have this connection, ambition to morality, because ambition can drive you to meet the situations where you have to make those moral decisions. Whereas if you are a person and you have absolutely no ambition, you're also not putting yourself out there in situations, thinking about the fact that even going for a job interview is a measure of ambition. Even keeping your house clean on a regular basis as part of your life I would relate it more to an ambition. A young man or a young woman living with their parents who doesn't contribute and receives some kind of pocket money and survives off the pocket money and maybe some kind of benefit from the government. That's a good example of someone without ambition. And it's a lot easier for that person to go out and do, I don't know, some kind of crime or in their boredom, in their idleness, have some kind of um, crisis that generates bad habits that brings in or attracts really bad actions and bad habits into their lives. This can happen really easily. One of the things that people talk about most is is how young people are stuck on their phones, stuck playing games, and then in real life they don't really know how to operate. They don't know how to operate with something, some physical goal, because they're constantly on their phones or um, their video games or whatever they're doing on their screens, right? But it's always on a screen. So that's, I mean, we could say that if they're doing something contributing to an ambition there, and it's not just like a video game or something, or even in a video game, you have the ambition of winning the game. But if the person is aware that it's only a video game, it's not really an ambition, and they're contributing to something that doesn't really exist. They haven't drawn that line yet. That lack of awareness uh, hasn't been questioned. You know, they're living in a world where their ambition is related to the video game, so it's a kind of synthesized ambition as opposed to something tangible and real that would give them another level of confidence or another level of self-esteem had they performed those tasks and dedicated their time to that real goal instead of the video game. So, yeah, basically, my talk today is about taking theory, morals, and ethics that exist in books and in theory about how we should live and what kind of lives we should live into real life, into situations where you would be faced with um, temptations, where you would be faced with um, opportunities to help others, and in both cases, further your ambition or destroy it. Further your ambition helping people when you don't really need to help people, and therefore showing that you're interested in their problems and understanding their problems and becoming a more moral or ethical person. By that, that's not exactly a moral or ethical person, especially if you know that there's going to be a reward at the end, or you know that it's helping your journey, but it is aligned with that. On the other hand, if you ignore the temptation and you do your taxes properly and you look after all of your financial, all of the financial aspects of your business without trying to skim off the top or without trying to do some kind of shady deal, right? Then what we're talking about here is a good bookkeeping and a good reputation that will harden your reputation for the future of your ambition. Okay, so they connect based on situations in which you find yourself in. Okay, I don't know if my examples were exactly, let's say, 10 out of 10, but next time, I think when we're talking about the difference between ambition and greed, I'm going to give some even better examples of why they are, why there could be a big difference, or why these should be judged not as synonyms but almost antonyms. Okay. Thank you for being here on my video today. Thank you for um, trying to understand and trying to get something out of my content. I hope I can see you here on my videos again with English Coach.